All right. Welcome to another session of What's Up Humanities Alum. My name is Leslie Werden, and I am the Department Head for Humanities here at Morningside University. Today, we have English major Kelsey Kallhoff Paumer joining us. And hello, Kelsey. How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you? It's so good to see
Awesome.
you.
I love seeing you because you're from my earlier days here, one of the first students I interact with, so I'm so excited to see you. Tell me what you are up to today. What's your current job? What are you doing?
I am a partner at Prentice Grant Law Firm. I became partner last January. So I've been in it a year now after being an associate attorney for 7 years. So heading into my 8th year of practice, which is fun.
Congratulations. That
Thank
is a great accomplishment. I'm very proud of you. So tell me a little bit about your path on how you got to the position that you're currently in.
Yeah. I was always interested in the law growing up. And in fact, when I first got to Morningside, I took all the pre law classes that they offered. There weren't many, but I did take a few. Except my mom really did not want me to go to law school. She thought I'd be really burnt out. She thought I wouldn't have any time for my family. And she was nervous about that. So I said, okay, well, what's my other interest? And at that point, I switched my major to English and psych major and loved it, right? It was all the things that the law offers: reading, researching, writing, got to do all of those things. But there was a limited amount of options that I was interested in pursuing long term after that. So my options were go to grad school, do English, become a professor if I can. That was one of my options. Or the other one was going to law school. And I weighed those options pretty heavily and decided, like, if I didn't do law school, I think I would be really upset. So did law school, had a great experience in Lincoln. And when you're in law school, typically you're not allowed to work that first year. You kind of sign a contract that's not really a contract that says you're going to focus on your studies that first year. And then after that, they host these kind of job fair situations where you go and interview with a whole bunch of different firms and they pluck you somewhere. I happened to be plucked into a workers' compensation firm, had never heard of workers' compensation in the past, was really overwhelmed, but immediately was like, I love this. It's a super specific area of the law, and I could really go pool deep in all of the information. So instead of having to learn a whole bunch of different areas of law, I could just focus on the one, which leaned more towards what I prefer to do and was good at. So after that, I law clerked there for 3 years, and they just said, like, hey, we don't have room for you. Like, we have a law clerk position only, but we heard of these two guys who are starting a good law firm. We have a great relationship with them. Their names were Joe Grant and Paul Prentice, and I got in at the right time, and they hired me, and I've been here ever since. So that's kind of my path.
That is really exciting. And I know that right when you were in law school, you made a comment. I think we were in some kind of conversation. You said something about how, boy, we do a lot of writing in law school. So tell me a little bit about how studying humanities helped you on this path that you are currently on. What did you learn most? What skills did you acquire that have been so helpful?
Definitely organization, time management. I remember going to my English classes and having every professor be like, just outline what you want to write first. Just do the outline. I was like, such a waste of time. Like, I just want to start the writing process, right? It's all about preparing. And for me, if I hadn't have done that in law school, I think I would have been really, really lost, because it is all about, you have to do the prep work first and then the writing comes later on. I, of course, much prefer the writing process to the researching process. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And so they want to skip that first step. But for me, if you're not an organized mind, you're not going to be organized in your writing, and everything's going to get lost. And so the best way to do it is prep your stuff first and then do the fun stuff later on and reward your steps along the way, right? Like, okay, I want to do this argument and I'm going to organize that argument first, and when I'm done, I'm going to give myself this little treat, and whatever that may be, a coffee or a candy bar or maybe a pair of shoes, I don't care what it is, but do treat yourself along the way to make that process a little bit more fun. But definitely organizing my thoughts first was what I took away from humanities courses.
Wonderful. Do you have a favorite memory of your time here at Morningside?
I have
Anything?
I have so many. You and I, you taught a course of Virginia Woolf course. It's one of my favorite courses I've ever taken in my entire life. You know what? I'll be honest. I don't like super love Virginia Woolf, but we as a class, I just remember feeling like, oh, this class vibes. Every single time we were together, we were just like, well, I think about this and I think about this. And it reiterates for me why Morningside was such a perfect match for me. Small classes, intimate classes, lots of discussion, lots of back and forth. I remember my perspective changing so much while I was there. So that was one of my all-time favorite courses to take. Outside of class, cup of soup day, I still miss Sigma Tau Delta.
We just did it today.
Did you seriously? It's so funny. You know what? I brought it to PG at my law firm. So we do cup of soup day in December as well. And it's so fun and I love it. So that's another really fond memory, especially cold weather. I often think about, oh, I really wish I could get a cup of soup from Morningside right now.
Perfect. So if you were to give some advice to anybody who's thinking about studying any one of the humanities areas, whether it's English or history or religious studies or Spanish or anything like that, what kind of advice would you give to those folks?
The advice I would give for studying humanities is that it can feel all consuming at times. I remember like not really being able to read for fun, right? I was reading for class. So when you are taking those classes, go into that with that understanding, go into it with hard work and motivation in mind. The payoff is so great. I have gained so many wonderful skills from doing speech, from the writing and the researching and all the public speaking events that we had to do. I can't tell you how helpful it's been long term for me, being able to gather my thoughts and then speak them in front of a crowd. It's so important. It is a lot of hard work. It is a lot of reading. It's a lot of researching. It's a lot of the writing. And there's lots of, big projects due in every single class, and it can feel overwhelming. But I promise, for me, they were the most valuable classes I took, and I recommend them 10 times over to anyone who's considering them.
That is great advice. I do appreciate that because I understand that there's a lot of reading going on, and sometimes reading for fun doesn't feel like reading for fun. But what we're doing, right, is reading for information and
Yes.
knowledge and perspective. And so that's really good advice, and I appreciate that. So I'm so glad to see you. I always love seeing you. And if there's anybody who has any questions about studying humanities at Morningside, just go to morningside.edu and we will be happy to help you out. We love to see students here and we love talking with our alums. So thank you very much, Kelsey, and have a great day.
Absolutely. Thanks.